Tonight on the Your Life Matters Show podcast.
It absolutely did, and it still provides that whenever I perform it. And I've had a couple people just out of the blue reach out to me and go, "Man, I needed to hear this song. This song really hit home with me. It's now on my playlist," and that's huge because other people can relate and they've gone through the same things. I think to a large degree, we all go through the same things. There's a saying I remember hearing when I was very young, and I'll probably not get it right here, but life is 20% what happens to you and 80% how you deal with it.
Yeah.
And I believe that to a very large degree. That's where a lot of, our foundation and our core principles and all that come into play.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you made the choice to watch our show this evening and joining us for another episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast with your hosts Steve Hodgson and Dr. Eric L. Davis.
Tonight's episode is titled Music and Mental Health, Utah Burgess from the band Noble Hops. Music has always been more than entertainment. For many people, it's how they process life, relationships, loss, responsibility, and moments they don't yet have words for. Tonight, we're beginning a new series where we explore the connection between music and mental health, not from a place of fame or promotion, but from lived experience. It isn't a conversation about charts or success. It's about the human being behind the music. Creative expression often becomes a safe container for emotion. It allows people to feel, reflect, and release without having to explain everything out loud. But creativity can also carry weight, vulnerability, pressure, and emotional isolation, especially when it becomes part of someone's identity. Because when artists share the stories behind their work, listeners often recognize parts of their own mental health journey as well. Our guest tonight is Utah Burgess, guitarist, vocalist, and songwriter for the band Noble Hops, a Western Pennsylvania band known for emotionally honest lyrics and a gritty, real-world sound. You will get to meet the artist and learn more about his background and his band. Utah has written songs that explore relationships, self-reflection, accountability, and the realities many people struggle with quietly. We will learn more about Utah and focus in on 4 of his songs he has written and approach them for a unique mental health perspective.
Well, howdy, and welcome to the Your Life Matters Show podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hodgson. I'm along here with my co-host, who considers himself a mental mechanic. So he always tells me, I can't fix your car, but I can help you understand why you keep driving it into the lake. Licensed psychotherapist, Dr. Eric L. Davis. Dr. Davis, we have a pretty good show tonight. We've talked about music before, like Mark Gravely, when we had him on. But tonight we're going to do first of 2 different episodes because we're going to do another one next week as well with some music artists, and we're going to look at their music from a mental health side, with their lyrics and how it helps people. So before we go, I don't want to interrupt the flow of the show. So as always, I want to present our sponsor at the beginning of each episode. Now, I truly hope you watch and listen to the information presented as you begin getting your life back in order right from your own home. And it's a brand new commercial, so if you've seen it before, this is a new commercial. But remember, you need to make that first call. So let's watch a message from Waypost Counseling.
January came and went. We are sure you made your list of New Year's resolutions. Then February was here, then March, then April. If you are being honest, they were not resolutions. They were wishes so you would become a better you. For many who are suffering with some type of mental health issue, whether it be anxiety, stress, PTSD, marital issues, female issues, anger management, depression, grief, self-esteem, loneliness, gambling addiction, or substance abuse, any of the other resolutions are going to be difficult to achieve if you first do not make a resolution to take care of yourself first. At Waypost Counseling, we have helped many people begin that new journey even when it seemed hopeless. Some think the only way out is suicide. We are here to tell you, there is help. There is no need to continue to struggle alone. It is time to reach out and ask for help. And we want you to know that is not a sign of weakness. Instead, it is a sign of strength, courage, and a willingness to face the challenges you are experiencing head-on. Do it for those around you, your loved ones, but most importantly, do it for yourself. If you have a computer or laptop, you can get help from the privacy of your own home. There is no need to come to the office anymore. You can get help from anywhere in the United States. Pick up the phone and call Waypost Counseling today. Dial 317-762-0904 or 317-659-0179. You can also visit us on the web at waypostcounseling.com and request an appointment. Dr. Eric L. Davis, Aaron Davis, and Jeff Gazier are standing by to assist you hit the reset button on your life, your marriage, and help you feel once again that your life matters. You need to take that first step. Call Waypost Counseling right now. You will be glad you did.
Now, music has always been more than sound. For some people, it's a distraction. For others, it's comfort. And for many, it's survival. Long before people find the words to describe what they're feeling, they find a song that understands them. Now, tonight we're starting a new kind of conversation here on the Your Life Matters Show podcast. It's not about fame. It's not about success. It's not about charts, streams, or applause. But what happens inside the mind of an artist when those lights go off, when the music fades, when the music becomes the only safe place left to land.
As a therapist, I see this often. Creative people don't just make art, they process their life through it. Music becomes a way to regulate emotions, release pain, make meaning out of chaos, and sometimes just stay afloat. But creativity also comes with vulnerability, intensity, and at times, emotional isolation. Tonight, we want to gently explore that space where creativity and mental health meet, without judgment, without diagnosis, and without expectation.
Now, whether or not you're a musician or not, you've probably been in this situation yourself. That moment when a song says what you couldn't say, when lyrics feel like they were written about you and not the artist, when music holds you together on days you don't feel whole. Now, we're going to kick off the series tonight about the human beings behind the music, their stories, their struggles, their resilience, and the reminder that vulnerability, it is a weakness, it's honesty.
If you're listening tonight and recognizing parts of yourself in these stories, that's not accidental. Music connects because emotion connects. And when we talk openly about mental health, especially in creative spaces, we make it safer for everyone to breathe just a little bit easier.
So tonight we invite you to listen differently, not just to the music, but to the story that's behind it. Because every song has a past, every artist has a journey, and every life, including yours, matters. So let's begin. Dr. Davis, from, as I always thought of, from a mental health perspective,
Yeah.
why do you think music is such a powerful emotional outlet, even for people who struggle to talk about their own feelings?
I think because, what they have found in like art therapy, for example, it shows that any way a person can connect to that emotion or do something with it, create something, put it somewhere, use it to influence something, that, all of that is a really important part of communicating our feelings. And so we really find that not only can the creation of art sometimes be even, maybe even more healing than simply talking about something, but it definitely can be as important.
That's interesting because we do express ourselves and our inner mind through our art. itself, whether it be drawing, music, and I want to make sure we're not talking about drawing here. Art,
Yeah.
the arts is
Yeah,
what he's talking
absolutely.
about. Yeah. So we often hear that creative people feel things more deeply. Now, is there truth to that, or is it just more how they process their emotions?
There's some truth to that. So, a lot of times, like something I found surprising, in just some of the research I did for today was seeing that creative people are often more like reactionary, and if you think about music, music is all feeling. So I thought that was really interesting. Um, it is about how they process emotions, but it's about connection. Think of it in that way, and music connects people.
Hmm. And yeah, because you're also connecting to that inner soul that you might be hiding, and that
Yeah.
leads me into the next question, right? Because creativity can become unhealthy if someone uses it as their only coping tool. I
Yeah.
may think, hey, I talked about my issues. Listen to Steve's song, so and so.
Yeah.
That's not the way to completely cope with your problems.
Yeah. It's one way, but not, the be all end all of ways.
Hmm.
Definitely you want to stay connected when coping with feelings, and you want to be able to talk to people that, know you and care about you and get feedback. But there's a lot to be said for the creation of any type of art, whether it be music or some people like to paint or others write about it, but
Hmm.
those are as important and a part of dealing with things as simply talking about it or anything else.
I've seen there was a woman that I knew years ago who used to take junk and recycle it into art. And you could, tell it was coming from a very deep place.
Yeah.
Some of the sculptures that she made, but it was an expression of herself.
Yeah.
And again, it was through her art. It was the way she expressed it. Now, um, many musicians say they don't know who they are without their art.
Mhm.
Now, that's definitely not the case with our art with person we
Yeah.
have on today. But from a clinical standpoint, how does trying to identify, their creativity affect their mental health?
I think that it's finding the right outlet. A lot of times, one of my favorite things to do, like when I am working with a new client and as we're establishing a game plan, a treatment plan, I love when I have clients that, are musicians or like to paint or draw, or because it's just really cool. I can ask them, how would you like to, you mentioned that you really like to, to write music. How would you feel about writing a song about your recovery, or
Hmm.
something of that nature? Um, it definitely, the cool thing about it is it's almost like you give that emotion or that group of feelings about whatever it is a life of its own. And it's what's really neat is, and I know we'll talk about this a lot more, um, but the coolest thing for a musician or an artist is, to pour their heart and soul into something, to pour their feelings, and then to have that piece of art, whatever it is, a song or a painting, have an emotional impact on someone else,
Right, when
you
it
know?
resonates with someone else, yeah,
Yeah.
as part of their life. And a lot of musicians, get their material from some of the sad or deeply intense periods of their life,
Definitely.
because you're writing in the truest, rawest form. I mean, it's easy to write about, a guy up in a spaceship. Major Tom is what I'm thinking of at the
Yeah.
top of my head. Okay, from David Bowie. But it's different when you're writing a story about your life and something that
Yeah.
happened in your life. And that's what's going to be really great about Utah today. I mean, a lot of his stuff comes straight from the heart.
Oh yeah.
Literally, yeah. So my last question before we get to him, okay, what happens psychologically when that music stops? Like after a show, after writing, or even worse, for us, a dry spell. We can't
You
write
know, I
anymore.
I think that, there have definitely been times, we're both musicians, and there have been times when, when I've gone through a dry spell, just either the last dry spell, so to speak, I went through was really because I was working a lot. I was working really long days. I was working in the evening, and so I just did not have time, as much time as usual that I would have to devoting to writing music or recording. And what's wild is I remember kind of like, why am I feeling kind of crunchy about everything, and that was, I talked to a therapist about it at the time, and they were like, well, what are the things you like to do? And, I was, well, I'm a drummer. I've been a drummer my whole life, and "Well, are you playing any music late? No, it's like, okay, well, maybe that would, so actually part of my treatment plan, with a therapist in, over the last, like, say 5 years, was to make sure that I devoted at least 10 minutes a day to either listening to music, playing music, writing music, something, something music, at least 10 minutes. And it was wild because I just by making a concerted effort to do that for, 3 or 4 days, honestly, it became so much more simple, or it was so much easier for me to just, sit down at my drum set or play my guitar or whatever. So it can be kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing,
Yeah,
where
that's
as a
the thing. I think,
musician, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
if you're not a musician too, even for people that are listening,
Mhm.
it's whatever. If you're into, like, really into knitting, or you're
Yeah.
into working on your flowers in your garden, if you're used to taking a walk, whatever it
Mhm.
is that was your passion.
Actually, an experiment that anybody can do with basically an art therapy experiment, so to speak, but you
Hmm.
can do this, anyone can do it. It's basically to, take an inventory. So, what I always tell people to do is, kind of take a screenshot of how you're feeling right now, maybe your anxiety, for example. On a 1 to 10, where's your anxiety at? Let's say the person says it's a 6. So then what I tell them to do, and I'm just using this as an example, I
Hmm.
say, okay, I want you to pick music that you like, and I want you to play, like play that music on the radio, or, play that at home. And then I want you to sit and just paint on a canvas. Doesn't matter what color, does it? Like, you can paint shapes, blobs, you can throw paint on it, like, but just, do something, create something while you're listening to that music, and then basically measure how you feel after that. And what's wild is, more often than not, the person will notice a marked difference in their anxiety or their stress, or something. So there really is, you know, um, the research, I'm not to sound like a nerd, too late, right? But the research suggests this is valid stuff. I mean, creating art can help us process feelings. There's no doubt about that. The research is conclusive on that.
Even myself, when I've had a long day or stress, I'm retired, but so happen have my long stressful days, and instead of, like, unwinding watching TV or something, I
Yeah,
just turned off all the lights, as I think I was talking about later here, and just put on my MP3 player.
yeah.
And I have all the songs that I like to listen to
Hmm.
on there, and I just lay back, the lights off, with the earbuds in, and
Yeah,
just you know chill. I mean, I fall asleep within like 15-20 minutes. I'm out cold,
mhm, yeah,
because it just takes all that tension out of me. It
yeah,
helps me unwind. It's something, I have so many different things. I could play music. I could go back to finishing my book that I've been working on for 2 years here, that I just need 1 week of sitting down and it will be finished. But um, do something that helps you, even though the show is about music tonight, that we're
yeah.
looking at that, it pertains to your life.
Hmm.
No matter how you look at it, just how you're viewing it. Tonight we're going to view it from a songwriter's
Yeah.
point of view and a band's point of view, instead of what we normally do. Sit there, but understand. I think every single person in this audience can say there's one song that they really can
Oh,
stop and
absolutely.
relate to. And if you would leave a comment
Yeah.
with that song name.
Yeah,
Okay,
please do,
just
because
yeah,
I want to know. I want to listen to them.
right. It'd be kind of interesting because we all might find another song that really,
Mhm.
hits home. So let's head over to Utah because I'm sure he's sitting there waiting for us.
Yeah.
Well, our guest tonight is Utah Burgess. He's a guitarist, vocalist, and writer for a band named Noble Hops. Now, that's a Western Pennsylvania band which is known for blending American rock and alternate country with lyrics that don't shy away from real life. Now, Utah, thanks for being here, not just as a musician, but as a human being willing to talk honestly. I know this interview will be slightly different from possibly what you usually do, but that's going to make it more meaningful and probably more interesting.
Utah, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was, raised in the typical middle class family, and so and it's I'm Gen X, so I had I think the best of it all, quite honestly. Coming up through the
Me
70s, the
too.
best period of time for music, in my opinion, and just the freedom we had as kids and the creativity that we had to, come up with on our own. And, we're a strong generation. There's no doubt about it. We're an independent generation, a strong generation. So very thankful for that. But like a lot of middle class families also, all of the stresses of life, affected our family and, things sometimes splinter and go different ways. And, you have to deal with it.
I had someone on a couple of weeks ago from Gen Z, and she was basically saying a lot of the same things you're saying right now. It was a great time growing up and stuff, but, they worry about the future,
Oh,
and what, like my generation, I'm older, my generation is doing to the future. And heck, I'm in that generation, I'm worried about what we're doing to the future, for even my own kids and my grandchildren too. So
I echo that sentiment, and Gen Z should be worried, and hopefully they can, find some real and honest solutions to what we need to do in this country and help get it righted again.
yeah, we need to do something. So now let me ask you, how did you get together with Noble Hops? Now you don't have to go too deep into it, but because tell us who the members are and how you guys formed.
Well, I mean, there is a story there. It formed back in 2010 as just kind of an acoustic duo that played cover songs around the area.
Mhm.
And then I started writing again around 2015 after some, major life alterations. And so some music started coming out, but it never really went anywhere. Just kind of laid around a little bit, would mess around with it with a buddy here and there. But after losing a very good friend of mine who was just a great songwriter himself, and he had left his music behind, recorded. So we still have that piece of him, even though he's not here anymore. I realized I got to get serious about the stuff that I write. And so after a year of honoring him and literally just all we did was go out and play his music to keep his memory alive, I approached a couple members of his band and brought in some other people, and we put this together and with the focus of I need to record my music and get it out there.
Awesome.
I think both Eric and I can understand that. We're both the closet musicians, okay, who have played in, like I know myself, I played in original rock bands for years, wrote my own material and stuff. So, and Eric the same way, he's been a drummer for years. So yeah, you're in the right crew of people. We understand that frame of mind. Definitely. So tonight we're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about moments in your life if we can. And we're going to talk about 4 songs. We're going to listen to a clip of each song, and then we're going to answer some questions about the song in relation to the show. So the first song tonight is Kelso Beach that we want to talk about. So if we can, let's listen to a clip.
So sit here a while wondering what tomorrow might bring. A cold, bitter winter or a warm, welcome spring. The wind and rain pounding as I sit here pondering what else in life it might be I am a squandering. Well, I got me a fine wife, won't find one much better. Might even consider this a lame-ass love letter as I sit here alone with my guitar and beer. One thing's for certain, I sure miss you, my dear. And I know my life's been better, those I choose.
Utah, you wrote Kelso Beach during a snowstorm, which already feels really symbolic. What was happening internally for you during that time?
Well, it wasn't too long after COVID, and just the craziness of that, and just how I listened to some of your podcasts already, and I think in one of them you had mentioned, you can choose friends as family, and I've done that significantly in my life, and how we were all able to stick together during that time and help each other. And so I'm just sitting there in the solitude of this storm, and one of the most incredible storms I've ever witnessed. I was literally on the shore of Lake Erie in a cottage and just pounding it. Just it all kind of came together right then and there, and a very fortunate person. And the line in there about with those I choose, and that's important. The decisions we make all the time in our lives are very important, and choosing the people I've had in my life has it made my life better, and that's where the song really come from.
So you really think the snowstorm made you feel that much reflective into your life? Was it
I think
just
it was the moment overall. I mean, I'm sitting,
Mhm.
there's a fire behind me, and I'm like, this is, I'm like Captain Ron on I forget the name of the movie, but or not, or Lieutenant Dan, I'm sorry, in the one movie, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. But then with all of that chaos around me, just you know, it was nice, and I was enjoying a couple brewskis too, so it all helped.
Hey, that never hurts when it comes to writing.
Now, this song touches multiple kinds of relationships, friends, family, partners. Was there any particular relationship that weighed heavier than others at the time?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think it was just all encompassing. I mean, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wow, I'm very fortunate,
Mhm.
And of course, the last verse kind of touches on, and that's under attack. That's under assault. The things that I believe in, and I believe in my friends and our core principles and the things that we believe in. And I know that they're with me. And so I think it just really encompassed how I feel. I often call it, this is a song I wrote about my tribe. And I don't know how else to really sum that up.
Did you write it right away, or was it where
Yeah.
you sat there and just said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to write a song right now with the way I'm feeling," or was it something that you wrote a little later on,
No,
based on?
I mean, it pretty much poured out of me, and something, I kind of just put it down for a little bit and then came back to it and, you know, touched it up here or there and fine-tuned this and needed to work out kind of like a bridge solo section type thing.
Mhm.
And I didn't think it was a song that would fit our band and our style. And I just said, well, hey guys, I got this at a rehearsal. And by the second time through the whole song, it was just magic with what everybody added to it. It was just an incredible moment to me personally. And I'm like, wow, they just, tuned in right with the song and made it what it was. And then, of course, we went to the studio and our producer, Jazz, added additional elements and different things to it and made it just a pretty good song, in my opinion. It's just something I hope people can relate to. there's a message there.
I always found if you're playing in a band and you really connect with the other musicians in the band, you can bring in your idea and your song, and they're going to expand it, and they're going to make it sound like the band. They're going to give the band's flavor to your tune, and it's an amazing feeling.
It really is, and I am fortunate because these guys have taken everything I've brought to the band and made it way better than I ever thought it would be. So
Now I want to go on to the next song, which is "Life by Numbers." So let's listen to a quick clip of that too.
Sun pokes through the misty morning, blanket that's covering the land. I rise from bed with a solid plan. I drink my cup and I listen to the sounds coming from outside. It sure is good to be alive. I go to work and do my job, and I stay the whole day through, yeah. These idle hands are the devil's stew. The evening comes, I kick my feet, I crack myself a cold one. He'll give me another, this one's done. 1, 2, 3. If you listen to me, I can tell you how easy it can be. 4, 5, 6. You can get your kicks by living and loving and laughing and being free.
When I listen to this song, which is a great song, by the way, it almost feels like a message, almost like a self-talk moment. Were you writing this to someone else, or were you writing it for yourself or to yourself?
I think I was just writing it again to the craziness I'm just witnessing all around me. And I often, when we play it live, I often introduce it as, hey, this is our advice to the world. Take it or leave it, because life can really be a lot easier on us all if we just kind of take a step back and breathe deep and relax a little bit. There's just core things, and again, from the generation I grew up in, I guess, that we had learned and took on, the character building stuff and the morality, and that just, if we could just apply that, right there, I think so many of the bad things in this world could go away. And so, and I try to keep the song simple. I'm not trying to preach. It's just, there's a couple things: drinking a coffee, hey, going to work and showing up all day and staying, and coming back the next day. Simple things like that I think we've lost along the way a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because I was listening to what you said there, and it always makes me wonder. I've seen so many people will sing along with a song, whether it's the popular tune or whatever. They really like a song and they're singing along with it. But then you start to question, well, how many people are really listening to the lyrics?
Yeah.
Or is it just like a really cool song to them, but the song has so much meaning to it? Are you hoping that they get that motivation when they listen to the tune?
Yeah, and I really do, and I just kind of hope the hook of the chorus is enough to kind of just pull that in. I mean, who can't count to 3? 1,
Right.
2, 3, and then and just follow it up with some simple, just let's listen to this a little bit. There might be something here that could mean something to you.
Well, listen, this is 2026. There may be some politicians who can't count to three.
As I was starting to make that comment, I had to kind of like, all right, just don't go anywhere else. Just follow the comment through.
Yeah, I'm usually one. Dr. Davis would say that takes it that way. So
Yeah.
you know.
In your life, have there been any times when even knowing the right advice didn't make it easy to follow? I know that's a deep question.
Yeah, I would be surprised if anybody could say that.
And does he want to admit it on film? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I've watched many people in the same situations as me not follow that advice.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think just I've always had my eyes open and my ears open and have paid attention, and that's helped a lot. Sometimes people talk too much. They talk over all of their other senses, and so they miss a lot by doing that. And
Something my dad used to tell me when I was growing up, he'd say, "Your behavior's screaming so loud I can't hear anything you're saying." And I always laugh because when I was a kid, obviously I thought, well, my behavior can't talk, like
right.
what an idiot, or whatever. But that just seems so profound. As an adult, that just takes on such a bigger meaning with so many things about the world.
Well, we don't go into politics, but I think that part of the problem today is there's so much other noise from media and everybody's pushing an agenda. And people, just from a mental health point of view, people have stopped listening, like you said, Utah, to their own brains and to themselves. And all they're doing is parroting a narrative, whether for either side. I'm not picking a side here, but, people stop thinking for themselves. And that's what I like about music. You see, I'm one that, next to my bed, I have one of those little MP3 players. Some people watch TV at night to fall asleep. I listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we've said, as being musicians, I listen more to the lyrics sometimes than I listen to the music. Because to me, if you want to put me in that frame of mind where I'm getting lost in the music, I have to feel the song. I have to feel what the writer and the artist was feeling when they wrote it, how they were performing it, and what they meant by it. And I, really hope more people would get into music that way, because you find it's a lot deeper than just, noble hops. There's actually some really good messages behind their music.
there really is, and there's also bad as well. But
yeah,
you want to try and focus on the good. I mean, again, back to my childhood, I grew up as that kid who would spend hours laying in front of my record player with headphones on and just taking it all in, hours, literally. And and it's really funny because I in my teenage years, and I still am, I'm still a metalhead. And there's a lot of positive messages in metal, and there's bad messages too.
Yeah.
But there are bands out there who just about taking control of your life and free will, and I mean just grabbing life by the horns and let's go and do this and live life, and not saying harming other people or anything like that, but hey, your life is your own, make it your own.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, and that's a lot of the bands I grew up in, that was their messages, and that definitely resonated with me, and I've carried that forward, into my life.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, as a songwriter that you are, who were your influences when you were growing up?
Yeah, and I wonder how much they've actually influenced me, but I definitely, America's greatest rock and roll band, Cheap Trick, grabbed me right away. So I've been a huge fan since a teenager to this day. One of the very few bands I'll still go to see live, other than like a local band or something. And but yeah, and I grew up in that PMRC era too. So we would go to these meetings while they're trying to shut these bands down, and we had our Judas Priest T-shirt on, and we're like, no way, there's good messages here, and look at us, we're all pretty good kids, they're not, it's not affecting us. So that, yeah, I went through that entire era. I remember we had to do a show once and we weren't even allowed to sing the lyrics to some songs that are used to sell cars these days.
Man,
We were only allowed to play the music. We weren't allowed to sing the lyrics. So it's pretty
that's
amazing.
crazy,
Yeah.
man.
And so I'll never forget, I was in a cover band, and we were allowed to use like this church hall to rehearse at. We kept our equipment there. But one of the things was when they had like a party, we had to play the party. It was almost like music type of music.
Right.
And I remember the first song that was picked was Imagine by John Lennon. And here I am singing the first set of lyrics, imagine there's no heaven. Well, I'm sitting there, there's a table of nuns on one side and a table of priests on the other. And I remember after the words came out of my mouth, I'm just like, oh shit. It was just like, yeah, just keep going.
No tomatoes hit you, did they?
Yeah, no, I'm still
what a
alive
mess-
today, but
What a
it-
message in that song.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's an
That's
incredible, incredible song.
mhm.
which is
Really
why
is.
we were playing it, but it was just, we were trying to find songs that, weren't Judas Priest because we were a rock band that we could play that sounded okay. Well, they're playing like cocktail music. No, we played John Lennon, but at least you could get away with it, I mean, you really didn't want you to come in singing like "I Want You to Want Me," So it was interesting. So, we talked about a lot of music right now. I want to go into the third one, okay? Because I don't think we've hit the third one yet, right? I didn't lose my place. Okay.
Yeah. No, we haven't.
The third song is "Me for Me," so let's listen to that one for a second. Okay?
Sitting in the dark, just playing my guitar, wondering how long and how far this life will take me until the bitter end. And when that time comes, will I still call you a friend? But I'm just a man who at times is cut and round. But there have been times when I also took a stand. Ain't looking for a fight, I only want what's right. Spend my lifetime trying to fight that good fight. I'm not looking for your pity, and I just hope you'll all forgive me, and you'll see me for me.
Now, "Me for Me" feels more like a moment of acceptance. Okay, almost laying things down. What were you letting go internally when you wrote that?
I think I was trying to come to terms with a lot of stuff. It's a very, very personal song to me. Probably my most important song to me personally, or up there with maybe another one. But it's definitely autobiographical in that one. And we always have these moments. I think everybody does, where you're exhausted, and you're exhausted from all of the work you do and all of the things you're trying to do, the difference you're trying to make, the guilt you carry around, the regret. I mean, sometimes it all hits it at once on you, and you just like sit there, like the opening line of that. That's it's a moment. I'm just literally just sitting on the couch, almost paralyzed with everything, and out came that song. And
Was this song
it's
for-
I'm sorry, it's also me asking for forgiveness, but also trying to explain. It's it's a song of reckoning as well, in a way.
Do you feel like, so was the song more about like forgiving yourself or more about surrendering? You know what I mean?
Um, Probably forgiving myself. But that, forgiving yourself and surrendering can be synonymous as well, I
Yeah.
think, to a large degree.
You know, a lot of people are really, really hard on themselves.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I did the best I could.
Right.
You know, what does that actually mean to you?
Listen to me for me. I think I definitely think there's some lines in there. And one thing I've learned too that has helped with acceptance and not just of my behavior, but in being able to forgive other people is that we only know what we know at that point in time. When my parents raised me, they only knew what they knew at that time. And I started raising kids, I only knew what I knew at that time. There was nothing else I could apply until I learned it and understood it and knew it. So you're not always perfect because of that. I mean, you can go back generation by generation, I think, and I mean, I look at some of the older pictures, like from our grandparents and great grandparents, and just how stoic and grim and they look. And I'll tell you what, they raised kids in a different way then than we do now. But that's all they knew. That's how they got by. That's how they survived. You know.
It's strange because I was talking to a child psychologist one of the episodes back. I lose track of which episodes we were doing. But like one of the things she was saying, it's unfortunate there is no parent handbook
Right.
that you could refer to. So, like you say, you did what you knew.
Right.
And back then they did what they knew. Okay. I used to joke with my father-in-law. You know, it's like, okay, we're going to take a picture, family picture. You take off his glasses. And it's like freaking smile. Okay. Everybody's smiling. He's like, it is okay to smile. No, this is the way they take pictures.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That it was like, wow. Okay. Really? Usually me, you can't get me to give a serious look in a picture because I'm joking and happy.
Right.
Um, so writing this, did it bring you any relief?
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely did, and it still provides that whenever I perform it. And I've had a couple people just out of the blue reach out to me and go, "Man, I needed to hear this song. This song really hit home with me. It's now on my playlist." And that's huge because other people can relate and they've gone through the same things. I think to a large degree, we all go through the same things. There's a saying I remember hearing when I was very young, and I'll probably not get it right here, but life is 20% what happens to you and 80% how you deal with it. And
Yeah.
I believe that to a very large degree. And that's where a lot of, our foundation and our core principles and all that come into play. And so how am I going to deal with this? And, everybody's different, but hopefully some people don't have the tool set or the proper skills to make that right call
Yeah.
at the moments.
It's got to be amazing, but when you're saying that you hear from someone that says, "Wow, I needed that song right then and there," to know that something that you put together about your life is now touching someone else's life.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. And I can relate to that because there's artists around my area here, and they've had that same effect on me. So it's nice to be in that club.
Mhm. How hard is it to speak from the heart?
For me, it's actually not very hard. I want to be upfront with everybody, and I want to be on a level set, and we're all on the same page.
Mhm.
I don't have time for all the other stuff, that just begets this and begets that and begets, and all of a sudden you're like, where are we even at here? So it's just easier to, here's the deal.
So I left the heaviest song that we're going to talk about to last. as far as the 4 songs are concerned. We're not done with the interview, but it's a song that should really hit hard to most of our regular listeners. See, it covers so many topics we discussed here on the last 8 or 9 months. One of them is veterans. Now, I want to say this before we get into the song and even listening to the clip. I want you to know the next part of the conversation touches on veteran struggles, including homelessness, addiction, and suicide. That we approach this with deep respect and care. It's not knocking a specific political party. In fact, what's happening in America for quite some time now. If this topic is heavy to you, please take care of yourself while listening to this. Now, the song that we're going to listen to is titled "The Trunk," and to me, it's a truly outstanding song and lyric. We just talked about songs that really connect with someone. Okay, this one really connected with me. So let's listen to a little bit of the song.
Of a lifetime that had failed a man too soon. He became my dad straight out of school, married mom to keep things right. Then war fell on his doorstep and he was sent away to fight. He came back home in '68 with a bullet in his arm, with the wounds he held inside his head.
The Trunk is a heavy song. Was there a moment or a story that made you feel like there was something that you had to write about?
Yeah, there's not a specific story. I've just witnessed I've witnessed the human tragedy all around me. I mean, again, being from a middle class family with just the struggles of this and that, and everything from the economy to mental health to everything else. Has its toll, and I try to help a friend of mine. He's a veteran, and he runs a program called Butler County Veterans in Need, and this Roy Ramon is his name, and he just selflessly gives of himself all the time to help his fellow veterans. And I see that, and I've got other friends who I've just seen the effects of what's gone on, and some of them I can even disagree with. I'm like, they might want to go back and do it all again because they're still there. And I'm like, I wish it had never happened in the first place. So there's all kinds of different angles you can come at it. And I really appreciate what you said too, Steve, about it's not a judgmental thing at all.
Mhm.
This is a reality. And even though the song is based around the Vietnam era, here we are 50 years on. What's changed?
Not,
If anything, I feel like it's even getting a little bit worse. And it's serious, serious stuff. Um, I, and you want to tie it into the mental health field too. We do not, as a country, devote the resources that are necessary to that.
Yeah,
That's a very, very frustrating thing to me. We have the resources, and
we
why
do.
we don't is beyond me.
if you've ever gone into a VA hospital, my my father-in-law used to go to the VA hospital in Ohio, and it's just complete disorganized. So, I mean, he used to get like a month, like 15 boxes of insulin needles, and the fact is that he only needed like one box. And he would contact them and say, "You're sending me 14 extra ones every month. Don't worry about it, just keep them." I mean, and the wasted money, you had to go in for some kind of surgery. It was like a 6-month wait to get that surgery, or even 2 months to go see a doctor. And yes, we don't, I grew up in the Vietnam era. Okay, I'm giving my age away a little bit, but yeah, I actually grew up. I mean, I thank God the war for me ended right as I was turning 18, where I was eligible for the draft.
Yeah.
I got lucky. My brother was the older brother. He got like 310 was his draft number, for his birthday. So he was fortunate not to go.
Yeah.
But I had neighbors that went and lost their lives over there. And I've seen also those that have come back that need help. And they're just not getting that help. They suffer. Dr. Davis can tell you, they suffer from PTSD.
Yep.
Is like one of the big things they suffer from, but also addiction.
Yeah. A lot of
because
addiction.
they'll drink, they'll do drugs, they'll do anything they can to forget what happened over there. And they served our country and we've turned our back on them. And that's why I said this song really hit home for me. My dad's a veteran, of the Korean War. So, yeah, I know all about it. But that anger and stuff, and the sadness, was that watching your friends or just in general?
I think it's in general. It is a story about. I mean, it is a story about a veteran, but also just of the working class and middle America. Because the very things that can affect veterans can affect anybody, first responders or people in the wrong relationships, the people who aren't getting the help for their mental health, and so they head down the wrong path. So there's it's very encompassing. It's focused on a veteran for sure, but I think it's a lot wider story than that just alone.
Now, you speak a lot in the song about like promises that aren't being met, and what do you believe the government could start doing to help our veterans more today?
Quit putting them in that position in the first place. I can tell you that. I'm a very liberty-minded individual, and really believe in the core principles of this, the founding principles of this country. And I don't know why we're all over the world meddling into things, but like, you don't want to get political. I understand that.
Right, no, I get it.
But not put them in the position in the first place.
Yeah.
But one of the things, that I mentioned Roy earlier with Butler County Veterans in Need, and one of the ways I work with them too is people need purpose, and they need to feel like they belong to something, that they have value, that they're needed. For example, when I need stage crew, Roy will round up some guys that are having a hard time, and you're coming out and you're working 16 hours. You're going to be here from the start to the finish. And some of them do it and they can't wait to come back. Some don't show up, that's part of the struggle. And you can't save everybody, though. I've learned that. You just can't.
That's right.
But those who want it, there's ways there. And and back to, how the government can be doing. I mean, not ignoring them is one thing, and choosing different priorities over them. But I think that also applies to a lot of us in America.
Yeah.
Down here, I live in Florida now. There are a lot of corporations and companies that will only hire veterans. Because they feel the same way you feel. We're not doing enough for them, and they're giving them that opportunity, like you are, to go out, and get a job and work and get their dignity back. I think that's the one thing, we didn't use the word, but I think it's, these veterans who put their lives on the line for our country lost their dignity.
Yeah.
When they came back, even with some of the wars politically, like with the Vietnam War, people came back, they didn't get that hero's welcome
Right.
or anything. It's like they fought all those years, and it's like, okay, well, we shouldn't have been in that war, so no big deal. Well, yes, okay, we shouldn't have been, like you say. I don't believe in policing the whole world either, and we won't go into politics either. But I think that we don't honor our veterans the way we should. We should put them well above anything else that's going on, and I don't think we do. Now, when you talk about struggling for the homelessness and addiction, what do people need to understand emotionally, or wish that they understood emotionally or politically?
Well, it's just that it's a very real thing. I think
Mhm.
sometimes it's just literally overlooked.
Well, media has a lot to do with that. Yeah, again, we won't go into politics, but people follow what the media tells them. If suddenly the media was to get together and say, "Hey, the plight of our veterans,"
Mhm.
there'd be
Yeah.
whole big number of changes going on. But that's it's not on their agenda. So it's a very, very sad thing. So I want to talk first Noble Hops. Okay, we haven't even talked about who the band members are. So I want you, if you could, to describe, but tell us who the members are of the group.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate that because
Yeah.
after I talked about them earlier, I'm like, man, I got to get their
No,
names in
I
there.
told you we'll come back to
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the thing.
absolutely.
It's not over yet.
Well,
Yeah.
well, on the drums, we've got the Brad Hurlbert, and he's our engine. He's the one that we lock in with and keeps things moving with us for us. On bass, we have Johnny Sleeves Costa, and he's vocalist also and sings some songs and does a great job on backups. And then we've got just one of the premier guitar players in the area, and Tony Valella, and he also sings and does a great job on the backup vocals. And as we had mentioned earlier, when we get together and here's the framework of a song, they take that song and they turn it into way more than I would have ever hoped for. So they're a fantastic group of musicians and a great bunch of human beings also.
Now, where's the band located out of? Which
And we're northeast of Pittsburgh. I mean, we generally kind of say Pittsburgh, but in a town called Sarver, and which is near Butler, PA, which happened to make the news a few years back. So that's we kind of Western Pennsylvania is really the I guess the term we generally use because we have a local music scene here, and we kind of call it the Western Pennsylvania music scene.
Mhm. Now you see, one of the things. See, I lived in Pennsylvania. I lived in Lancaster County.
Mhm.
Quarryville, this little Amish town, for a couple of years there, and I don't think some of our listeners realize how strong the music scene is there in Pennsylvania. A lot of people, there isn't sometimes a lot to do. So, every town, every city has its big haunts. They're the places where people go just to hang out, to drink, and have a good time. And I don't mean that, to get drunk and stuff, but that's where they spend time. The Christians would say fellowship with people. But, I know myself, I probably every weekend saw another live band that was
Yeah.
playing from the area or even in the Pennsylvania area that was traveling around. You guys get good reception. People started to follow you from bar to bar, and
Um, well, I mean, yeah, we have a pretty decent following here, but I guess last year we kind of took the approach of not really playing in our area that much, and we want to play 2, 3 hours outside of our area. One of our biggest thrills is to go and play in front of people who have never heard us before, don't know who we are,
yep.
and seeing how the music reacts with them and how they react to us. And that has been incredibly rewarding. We have
Yeah.
probably really developed our fan base and wider by doing that. than, trying to talk our friends into coming out every couple of weeks to this show and the same old place and whatnot. But so, yeah, we've taken that approach.
It's one of the things I know. My band used to play in a club in New York, and sometimes we had to play. We would hire like as the opening act, and nobody wants to see the opening act. They had to see the main act. But like you're saying, if it's not your crowd, and you can go and you can win them over, and they enjoy your music, that's more rewarding to me than if I invited Dr. Davis, and his brother and his wife to come and say, "Hey, Steve, okay, that's really good." Now I get a much better time if, like you would happen to step into the bar and see us play and say, "Wow, that music is really good."
Yeah.
It's a much better feeling inside because you're getting honest feedback from the
Yes,
people.
and we love it. We have, and it's really, I think, helped motivate us and push us as well. And it's not, we love our local hometown fans because they do support us in a big way. But yeah, we're looking to spread the word of our music, and you got to hit the road to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like motivates you to continue writing, playing, touring, and just being, in a group as great as Noble Hops?
Well, I mean, I might jokingly say, because I ain't got long left. There's also
Hey, wait a minute! I'm the only one in this room that can say that. No?
but there's also a shred of truth to that as well. But I mean, especially the relationship with the guys is really healthy right now, and we feed off of that energy. When we get together, there's way more energy. I still have, a lot to say that I want to say, and I'm going to say that in song. And so we've got a lot of work still ahead of us, and we plan on getting as far as we can with it.
Now you mentioned, I think the guitarist, did you say was that also writes for the band too, has written some songs?
No, he has written some songs,
Yeah.
but not for this band here. So we actually play one, almost all the time in our sets that he was a co-writer of, and that's actually one of the things we discussed here in the last few weeks is, we want to kind of do some co-writing together as a band. When we get together, we start messing around with something and see where that goes. So that's definitely on the radar as well.
Yep. I was just curious, if there were other members that, like you didn't have like a George Harrison sitting there that could write really well, and wasn't getting its recognition. So how can listeners find out more about Noble Hops?
Well, Noble Hops Music is sort of the brand we run under. So, anywhere on that thing called the World Wide Web where all the kids go, you can type that in and find us. We do have a website, noblehopsmusic.com, which I am not very good at keeping up on. Our Facebook is Noble Hops Music. Our YouTube channel is Noble Hops Music. So we don't have all of the socials because I have enough accounts and I have enough to do. I know it would probably help us if I could manage that better. But again, our focus is more on, let's head down to Louisville and see what we can do. Let's head up to Erie. Let's head out to Youngstown. Let's head out to Central
Let me know if you
Pennsylvania.
come to Indianapolis. I'll come by and watch.
That is a very real possibility, actually. So I will certainly, I'm making note of that right now because that's a very real possibility.
Yeah, let me know for real. I will definitely come watch you.
Well, if you're ever down in Florida, yeah, let me know too. Hey, the music scene is strong, and one of the messages that I hope that we get out also from the show is not only promoting Noble Hops, but promoting local bands in general.
Yeah.
Dr. Davis knows, I know, on a Saturday night, you're sitting there, or Friday night, you got nothing to do. Go out and support some of the local bands that are out there. Because, you're going to come across, like you said, where you go into a place where nobody knows you. And you may find one of your next favorite bands, just by going out. Plus it's helping to support you as a musician as well. you know,
You
that,
know, and pretty much all the famous bands started as a local band,
right.
and you know, I
Pay your
outside of
dues.
Noble Hops, I own a production company, and I actually co-host a radio show on the rock station 97.7 WLAR
Cool.
since July 1st of 2012 that puts a spotlight on our local music scene here in Western Pennsylvania because it really is that good. And one of the things we always say on there, it's the best value for your entertainment dollar, local music.
Yeah. Because it's important. And all the links we've been talking about here too, folks, are as is written in the description here. So if you miss, you didn't have to run, you can run back if you want to and listen to it again, okay? But the links are there, you know, for the YouTube and the website and everything else. And as a retired website person, it's important to keep the website up too because people need to see that, okay? And
Agreed.
believe it or not, like AI today
Yeah.
actually spiders the website. So it picks all that information up and keeps it in its info. So, you know, that's something that's important. So let me ask you the last question. Any new or upcoming shows you want to plug for 2026?
Um, yeah, I mean, we've got I guess some shows coming up in Erie again, and we're going to be we've got a not knowing when this exactly will air, but we play a lot of benefit shows as well, so
Mhm.
we do that things that raise money locally and keep money in the local area. Those are most of the benefit, or I should say, the local shows that we do
Mhm.
are for causes like that. But yeah, I think the calendar is the best place to watch for us. I do try to keep that updated, or at least images of where we're going to be at. We do plan on dropping probably another 3 songs this year. We have a video that we're dropping for Kelso Beach on the 1 year anniversary of releasing it. So we're very busy in that regard for sure.
I know
Awesome.
I was trying to find live music of the band performing. So I think I only came across one. It was a cover tune, and now for the life of me, I can't remember what it was.
Well, I started out using Rumble. So there's
Hmm.
some live stuff on our Rumble channel.
Right.
Um, and then I realized that if I'm going to seriously do anything with the music, I have to use YouTube. So I've
Yeah.
kind of had to migrate over to that because it's one is a behemoth and the other is
Right.
intentioned, great intentions. But you're going to just fly under the radar.
Yeah. The world right now seems to be on YouTube, which is why we're here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
we're
100%.
exclusively. We used to like live stream it on Facebook and all that stuff. No,
Yeah.
this is the place where people go. You know, and you can do something meaningful. So, Utah Burgess, we both like to thank you very much for reminding people that behind every lyric is a real person who carries real weight. Thank you for joining us here tonight. And of course, we wish you all, you know, the entire band, continued success in your musical journeys. And of course, the success of Noble Hops. You know, we truly wish you great luck. And, you know, if you have any, you know, milestones or anything like that, just pop me an email. You have
Yeah.
your email. We'll make sure we mention it on the show in the future.
I appreciate that. You both did a fantastic job with this interview, and
Thank you.
I like the topic matter that you're covering. It's very personal to me as well. So
Well, thank you.
Well,
Pleasure to
great
meet you.
having you on. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Davis, one last question. For listeners who aren't musicians but relate to those feelings, what should they take away from tonight's conversation?
Basically, that if there is an activity that you like to do, such as, for some people, I mean, cooking can be art, music is
Mhm.
art, writing a story is art, telling a story is art. I mean, there's singing is art. I mean, you name it. There are so many things. And if you feel an emotional connection to that, then by all means, keep doing it, because the thing is, I think if nothing else, um, just know that when you are putting your feelings, like when things have an emotional effect on you, there's something to that. And if you're anything like me, music, like there have been so many times when music was exactly what the doctor ordered,
Mhm.
and that's all it took for me to feel a little better and get through the rest of the day or whatever it was. So
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
music is definitely a good escape. Now I'm going to give you a little something interesting. When you watch back the interview tonight with Utah, I want you to go back and see if you can find the point where your host here banged his knee into his desk just before he was about to ask a question, and see if you can notice the reaction on my face. Okay, because I know I winced a second in pain and then realized I was about to ask a question, and I just asked the question anyway. So just see, it might be fun to go back and try to find that spot in the interview. Now, before we go into our outro and close the show this evening, first I want to extend a very special thanks to a good friend who I've known for many years, Michael Stover. Michael is the owner and president of MTS Management Group, MTS Records, MTS Management Group. See, it's more than just a publicity and promotions company. Okay, it's a bona fide rock star in the music industry. Now, this company has won so many awards, as well as the artists that they promote, the awards that they've won too. And if you don't believe me, look at their website, check the awards page. It just goes on. It's the Energizer Bunny page, as I as I always refer to it. And the link to their website is also in the description here. Now, Noble Hops is a client as well. And Michael has made it easy for us to interview Utah, as well as our guest next week, Robert Ross. Now, we've spoken to many amazing upcoming artists in the past versions of this podcast, and I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking with each and every one of those talented individuals.
Tonight's conversation reminds us of something that's very easy to forget, that music doesn't come from nowhere. It doesn't just appear out of midair. It comes from lived moments, from relationships, from regret, from resilience, from pain that didn't always have a place to go.
You see, when an artist like Utah is willing to let us sit inside those moments, even briefly, that's not entertainment, that's trust. Utah didn't just share with us tonight, he shared parts of his own inner world. And in doing that, he reminded us that creativity is often how people survive when they don't yet really understand it.
From a mental health perspective, what stood out to me tonight is how naturally music becomes a container for emotion. Many people struggle to articulate what they're feeling, but they can feel it in a melody, a lyric, or a moment of silence between notes. What we heard tonight wasn't just storytelling, it was an emotional processing, reflection, and in many ways, self-compassion.
See, and that matters because when people hear their own struggles reflected in someone else's honesty, it reduces their shame. It reminds them that they're not broken, they're not alone, and they're human.
Yeah.
So if something in tonight's conversation resonated with you, if it was the lyric that felt familiar, or a story that stirred something that you've been carrying, we want you to know that reaction makes sense. You don't have to fully understand it, you don't have to label it, and you certainly don't have to carry it alone.
And if topics like isolation, addiction, grief, or feeling left behind hit close to home, especially during the conversation about veterans, we want to pause here and say this clearly. Help is available, support exists, and reaching out is not weakness, it's wisdom. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text 988 at any time to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's confidential, free, and you don't need to be in crisis to use it.
See, the reason that makes this series even exist is because music opens doors that words sometimes just can't do it.
And when those doors open, we have a responsibility to walk through them with care for the artist, the listener, and for the stories being told.
See, every song we explore in this series carries a backstory. Every artist carries a mental health journey, and every listener brings their own lived experience into the room.
Healing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like reflection. Sometimes it looks like honesty. And sometimes it looks like simply being seen.
Well, thank you for tuning in this evening to our show. Please remember to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And please leave us a comment about Utah Noble Hops, or even, like we said, a song that your favorite song. And even it doesn't even have to be about the lyrics. It could be a song that gets you through, your difficult times. Maybe you've even seen them perform. If you're in Pennsylvania and you've seen them perform, let us know in the comments. We'd love to read them. And remember, you can also visit our website at yourlifematterspodcast.com. You'll find more information about your hosts, the show, and even request to become a guest. And remember, all the links we spoke of this evening will be in the video's written description here on YouTube. So once again, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening with openness. And thank you for honoring the human side of music. So until next time, God bless you and take care of yourself and take care of one another. And please never forget, your life matters. Hope to see you again next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this week's new episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast. Please be sure to join us again next Thursday for another great episode with your hosts, Steve Hodgson and psychotherapist Dr. Eric L. Davis. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so, and hit the like button and leave a comment. Your help with this helps us reach a wider audience that may need our help.